Good evening and welcome to the campus of UW-Whitewater. I'm your host, Kyler Foff, and alongside me today is Alex Monty. We ask you to please excuse our momentary interruption of sports from your regular daily schedule. Today we will be discussing everything to do with MLB. Let's get right into it. The 2023 MLB season has just begun with plenty of storylines and narratives around the league to keep an eye on. To get us ready for the 2023 season, let's recap the 2022 season and the memorable moments that it gave to the baseball fans.
Well, obviously you have to start with the World Series, the ending result of that. Astros beating the Phillies 4-2 in the series. The Fall Classic is obviously the ending and then also the beginning in a way. Astros Dusty Baker, the manager for the Astros, finally won after many seasons of great success, had over 2,000 wins, and finally be able to have that crowning achievement has really meant a lot for him and the team that he was managed.
Yeah, a few games I'd like to go over would be probably the first game where the Phillies had a game winner in the 10th inning. So the Phillies were trailing by 5 after 3 innings, and then they scored 5 runs in the next 2 innings to tie the game. And then in the 10th inning, the catcher JT Realmuto had a home run at the top of the 10th, and then they just had to play defense to win that game, and they did.
And I feel like another game to mention would have to be Game 4, in which Houston was able to beat them 5-0, and it was a combined no-hitter started by Christian Javier, as well as 3 other receivers to close it out, which personally, I've never really been a big fan of the combined no-hitter. I feel like it's more of an individual thing, because especially in the World Series, you should have just let him go. He could have put his name up there in history, being the second in World Series history and joining Don Larson. That would have been monumental, but instead it's just kind of like, the team did it. It's more of a team accomplishment rather than a him accomplishment. But another fun fact about that no-hitter within the World Series, throughout the regular season, there were 2 others in which the Astros, started by Javier, was also recorded against the Yankees, a New York team, and then the other no-hitter was the Mets no-hitting the Phillies earlier in the year, and so then both of those were against other New York teams, and then they meet in the World Series, and it happened again. So just a real interesting coincidence of sorts.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention quickly Game 3 with the Phillies record-tying 5 home runs in a World Series game. That was obviously, before the amazing pitching by the Astros in Game 4. So they definitely, tapered off after that Game 4, after that Game 3 win, and the Phillies didn't even win a game the rest of the series after that.
And I know I'd mentioned Dusty Baker, manager for the Astros. Obviously, a lot of accolades and a great manager for that team. And just, throughout time, he has been such. But, we have to really mention Rob Thompson and what he was able to do for the Phillies. Coming in as an interim manager, obviously that has changed now with the contract extension. But coming into that role, turning the team around after they had fired or moved on around mid-season, then they were able to get things going. They became the 6th seed, the wild card, and of course beating out the Brewers for it. Honestly, just punched their ticket for the World Series at that point, as it's been the past 3 seasons, I believe. But obviously it was just an amazing run that they had, getting through the Cardinals, the Braves, and such to get to that point, and the Padres in the NLCS.
Another thing I'd like to mention about the Astros was in Game 5, the great Justin Verlander, who recently left, ended up winning his first game in the World Series after his elongated career over 12 years. So that was definitely a much-deserved win for Justin Verlander, being one of the best pitchers in our generation. And then, of course, in Game 6, the shortstop Jeremy Pena won, as a rookie, the World Series MVP. So that was pretty dope.
Indeed.
Next up, we will discuss the best teams in the American League Conference this upcoming season. Stay tuned for more on UWW TV.
We'd love to show you what it's like to be a Warhawk.
Come on!
Don't miss out on your chance to be a Warhawk
At UW-Whitewater.
You belong here!
For Hawk Talk, especially on days I'm hosting, you really need to be up early looking at those news stories. Even the night before, I'll be finding topics that I can incorporate in the show, and I feel like we get a conversation going.
once you get the opportunity to do that with other people who appreciate it at the same level as you do, it makes it that much more enjoyable.
For everything sports, tune in Monday through Thursday at 91.7 The Edge or watch us on UWW TV.
The UW Whitewater Bookstore is your one-stop shop for apparel, textbooks, and technology. Stop in for a wide selection of gifts from our alumni, family, and name brand sections. Need to purchase or rent a textbook? Head downstairs to Textbook Services. Check out our new custom shop and create personalized apparel for your organization. Need a charger, laptop, or headphones? Our new technology section has everything you might need. For more information and bookstore hours, visit uwwhitewaterbookstore.com.
Here at UW Whitewater Intramural Sports, we have a motto: a sport for everyone and everyone in a sport.
Come on! Accepted anyways. Oh, she got that. Oh, they're going to count it.
Had a blast. Always have fun at intramurals.
Every day we strive to go above and beyond that goal by providing healthy exercise, promoting leisure education, and giving students that competitive atmosphere they are looking for.
Yes! Yes!
It's exciting. Brings me back to those high school days with Friday Night Lights.
With our 25 different intramural sports offered, we guarantee that we have a sport for you. Go to our website and find your sport today.
Welcome back to Please Excuse Our Momentary Interruption of Sports from your regular daily schedule. To continue on where we left off, who are the best teams within the American League Conference this season?
I mean, really have to always look at the Yankees, always going to be a prominent team to take into consideration. Honestly, that entire division has just been something else to witness. I mean, you got the Yankees, the Rays, the Blue Jays, and then even the Orioles last season all finished above 500. The Red Sox were the only ones to finish below that margin, which is very uncharacteristic of them, I believe. But so that's going to be an interesting one. Each of those teams with star players, a lot of power, and a lot of interesting aspects to watch throughout the entire season.
Yeah, I also believe the Yankees will be at the top of the American League. Obviously Aaron Judge just had an AL MVP performance. He had 62 home runs, had a Silver Slugger award, the most in season for Yankees players. So it was definitely fun to watch that, and I definitely think he'll be able, maybe not do as well as he did last year, but he'll definitely put up pretty good numbers. But you also have Giancarlo Stanton, who's a designated hitter. He was All-Star Game MVP, fun fact. So he definitely adds that fire that you would like on a team. And then also along with that, he had 31 home runs as a designated hitter. Like that's pretty good numbers. So I definitely like that 1-2 combo in New York.
Yeah, and as you mentioned with Aaron Judge, I too expect a bit of regression from the great 60 home run season that he had last year. That's just really hard to replicate. Personally, I believe that the Blue Jays could pose a serious threat. I mean, obviously they finished second last year, so they were already riding the coattails, just a little short. You figure they got Vlad Guerrero, which is just continues to be a rising star within this league. But of course, Kevin Cash with the Rays and the lack of cash they really spend, anything is always possible. But of course, looking out into other divisions, you got the Astros coming off the World Series victory. I feel like they are still poised to repeat as victors of the division and making a deep playoff push as well. But I mean, there's of course other teams that have been reloading, restocking. Look at the Rangers adding DeGrom, or Seattle had the NL Rookie of the Year in J-Rod. So it's just going to be exciting.
And then another thing about the Astros too is that they're going to be, off to a shaky start with Jose Altuve having a broken thumb. So, but once he's healthier, they'll be an amazing team, like they're used to performing. But they also have Jeremy Pena, who was the Rookie of the Year last year and also won the World Series MVP. So definitely, they don't have Verlander anymore, so that's going to be a problem because he went to the Mets. But they still have Christian Javier, who's one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yeah, for sure. And then look into the Central, you'll have, I believe, the Guardians. I mean, it's really going to be tough to see any other teams making a push. Perhaps the Twins, who's to say. White Sox will probably be just as disappointing as they were last year.
It'll definitely be exciting to watch for sure. Let's transition to the National League Conference. Who are the best teams within the National League this season?
Well, obviously, it sounds like a bit of a homer to say this, but the Brewers have been off to an electric start. They've been on fire, putting up so many runs, so many more runs than they were even capable of putting within a week last season. They've got a lot of young talent thus far. You look at Mitchell, and they've got Turang, just off to the races so far. So it's going to, obviously, it's early in the season, a lot can happen, but so far they have established themselves as at least a team to watch out for.
Yeah, another thing that the Brewers can improve on would be the pitching. Obviously, they have Corbin Burns, but other than that, I mean, we're pretty short. So it's definitely going to be a key factor down the road to a long MLB season. But hopefully the Brewers can actually, get past their recent humps in the playoffs these past 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, because it seems that, the Brewers just never have that excitement when it comes to the actual playoffs. So hopefully they can, win it this year and then make Milwaukee proud. So another team I'd like to talk about would be the Padres. I think the Padres will be the best team in the National League. They have Xander Bogaerts. They have Juan Soto, who is a Silver Slugger. And then, of course, Trent Grisham. So they definitely have a good team that will be able to, hit the ball, play very well defensively, and then hopefully win a lot of MLB games.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that's just a lot of star power in that team. It's just going to be a matter of how they mesh with each other. I mean, there's Machado in there as well, and I mean, it's just going to be so many pieces, so many keys to success. So it's going to be a matter of if they can execute as they did last year, making it to the NLCS, if they can push past that, or if they may regress. I mean, it's going to be a lot of question marks going into it, and I mean, that's just within the West. I mean, look at to the East. The Braves obviously always making those late pushes. I mean, they lost some pieces, but they also got Sean Murphy at catcher, so that can also help along the way. Phillies off to a slower start. The Mets, I mean, who knows? Really, they're going to Met, you figure?
And then, of course, I'd like to go back to the Phillies. Obviously, Bryce Harper won the NLCS MVP last year, so he's coming off a pretty good performance. But they also have JT Realmuto, who is a catcher and very young, promising catcher. He won the Golden Glove, Silver Slugger. He was on the first team as a really young guy. That's very impressive to do. He was also on the World Championship Baseball Classic team for the USA. So he was definitely getting utilized pretty well in the offseason, and that's why I think the Phillies will get out of that recent slump they've been in and hopefully, make it to the top of their division.
And then I'm going back to the top of the segment in a way with the Brewers. Obviously, I was rooting for them, showing respects and such. But I mean, you really have to look at the division. Realistically, it is still pretty wide open. There's a lot of teams with the right pieces, the right moves, and just getting the right momentum going can, still make it interesting. I mean, the Cubs can still be alive. Pirates, who knows? Cardinals off to a slow start, but always a team to respect.
Next, we will be giving our early MLB playoffs and World Series predictions. You're watching Peomiosfyrds on UWW TV.
Matt checking in to see how Sam is doing on his project. And it's getting close to exporting now, the final step in the process. And it is complete, and Sam is hyped. Finally gets complete and spikes the ball into the end zone. Sam's celebrating with his colleagues, and they throw a flag on the play. The ref's going to call excessive celebration. Sam is in disbelief and can't believe it. He tries to dispute the call, but the ref is not having any of it.
Crew is a faith-based organization for UW-Whitewater students. Their mission? To create an inclusive Christian community for students looking to explore or grow their faiths.
For me specifically, it's been amazing to just have people to walk alongside with my Christian journey on.
They always say to go and experience new things while you're at college, and I think this is just another one of those things that you should experience.
Crew welcomes all students and is held at Summers Auditorium on Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Come join our crew.
The P.B. Poorman Pride Center is the place to go for LGBTQ+ resources, information, and community. Located in the Warhawk Connection Center, while there, you can meet people like Mia.
And I serve Impact as president this fall, as well as working for the Pride Center. Impact is our queer LGBTQ+ and ally organization on campus. We meet once a week, and we do a lot of social events as well as education events.
It feels like I'm way more accepted here than when I was in high school. It is like a really big family.
Along with acceptance, in the Pride Center you can find a little library, a clothing closet, and a satellite location of the Warhawk Food Pantry.
It just feels like a home to me. You know, it feels like my home away from home, and there's such a community here that is so wonderful and full of joy.
For more information, follow the Pride Center on Instagram at UWW_PRC.
Welcome back to the show. Alongside Alex Monty, I'm Kyler Foth. The 2023 MLB season has just started, which means that it is time to give our way too early predictions for the MLB postseason. What teams will win their divisions, and who will we see in the World Series when it's all said and done?
I mean, it's easy to say, just shoot out a bunch of bold predictions now, and we'll see how well they age over time because it's still very, very early into the season. Lots can happen. Injuries, trades, momentum, all sorts of things can come about. Call-ups, anything. But I mean, at the moment, you have to look at what we got, the rosters, and at least the momentary records that they have, and just try and gauge it from there. Obviously, some teams to watch. Figure, Brewers, they've got a good shot for winning the NL Central for the East. The Braves, I believe, and then the Padres are still such a stacked team. It's really hard to argue against it.
Yeah, and I would say that definitely the predictions for the AL East is going to be close, but I would have the Yankees coming out on top of that just because of their firepower. And then in the AL Central, it really could be the Guardians, most likely. The Guardians will be the AL Central, winners there. And then, of course, I would have the Angels winning in the AL West. Shohei Ohtani just came off Japan's championship win, so I think he's going to have a good start to the season. But then it just comes down to how they do when it comes later in the season, and hopefully they don't taper off, but they just keep improving. So I would definitely have those teams as my AL winners. And then for my NL East, I would have the Phillies, or the Braves. I mean, the Phillies are off to a really rough start right now, so that's why it's kind of a hard decision to make. But I would definitely think that they would have the ability to get better and then hopefully win that division. And then obviously the NL Central, I'm going to go home crowd Brewers. The Brew Crew is definitely waiting for that moment to capture, World Series titles. So I don't know if we'll be able to do it this year, but we definitely have a star-studded team that is filled with youth and have the ability to win a couple games. So, and then finally, my NL West, I would have the Padres. Obviously, other than the Yankees, the Padres are probably the best balanced team in the MLB, so I definitely would have them as the winner.
Yeah, and you had mentioned about the AL. The AL East is going to be very exciting. Personally, I believe the Blue Jays can come atop. They were just short of it last year behind the Yankees, and I don't think Aaron Judge can really put up the 60-plus home runs he did this past season. For the Central, it really is the Guardians to lose. Maybe the Twins can get something going. That would be exciting, but it's no guarantee, and I feel like the Astros still hold control overall on the Western Division. As far as how this could pan out long term, I believe the Astros and Braves could have a repeat World Series appearance. I mean, that's just perhaps more chalk and pedigree, but I feel like that's at least a safe bet early on.
Yeah, and I'd also like to say my predictions for the World Series. I think it would be Yankees versus Padres, obviously being the best teams in both divisions, so hopefully that happens. When we come back, we'll present our final thoughts for this week's episode. Stay tuned.
What does it mean to be a Warhawk?
It means allowing myself to dream big and think outside the box.
Pushing the limits of what I think is possible.
Seeing ideas through from start to finish.
Collaborating with professors and peers.
And seizing opportunities in the community to put my knowledge to use.
I'm studying abroad.
Learning another language.
And listening to the stories of others.
I'm making lifelong friends and fearlessly sharing my gifts with the world.
As a Warhawk, I stay balanced,
take great care of myself,
and get out of my comfort zone.
I refuse to let the past determine my future.
And I'm taking confident steps in the direction of my dreams.
Sometimes it doesn't make sense.
And other times it couldn't be more exciting.
But I will keep my goals in mind
and never quit.
Because
that's the Warhawk way.
UWW-TV has been an important part of the campus and community since 1980.
Not only providing on-air learning opportunities for broadcast journalists and electronic media production students,
but educating and entertaining our audiences with award-winning news, live sports coverage, original programming,
as well as dedicating a mission to developing creative collaborations throughout campus.
For more information, visit our website and like us on Facebook.
Check us out because you gotta see what's on UWW-TV.
Here at UWW, we put a lot of emphasis on shaping your involvement. Involvement helps you get to know more people with similar values and goals as yourself. The Student Involvement Office can help you get involved with organizations on campus, or we can help you start a brand new one. So what are you waiting for? It's time to shape your involvement at UWW. If you'd like to learn more, stop by UC 127 or contact us at involvement@uww.edu or call 262-472-6217.
Peomiosfyrds, let's wrap it up by talking about our final thoughts from today's episode. So I'd first like to talk about some I didn't get to would be the award predictions. So I believe the NL MVP would be Juan Soto, and then AL MVP would be Shohei Ohtani. Both star-studded talents, definitely have something to prove this year, and I can't wait to watch them. And then, of course, with the rule changes in the MLB, I feel it'll make it a lot easier to get the game going and, have that momentum keep on going, and it'll be a quicker game for sure. Some rule changes that have been applied would be shifts, your limited amount of shifts, and then pitch clock. There's now a pitch clock. The hitter needs to be ready when there's about 8 seconds left on that pitch clock, otherwise they get an automatic strike. You only allowed 2 pickoffs, and the bases are bigger this year by 3 inches, so that'll help in steal attempts and then those close plays to first. And then, of course, the last one would be position players pitching. They can only do it if team is up by 10 or down by 8. So that's going to change up some things for sure.
Yeah, as you're saying, the rules change has been a big thing this year. I mean, the average time a game is down to 2 hours and 38 minutes. This is the fastest game since the 80s. The averages have gone up by a good deal as well, 75%, 83% for attempts of stealing base. So, I mean, really just offense is going to be a lot more explosive. Going back to the award predictions, I believe Acuna could do NL MVP, Shohei AL, obviously could have had it last year if not for Judge, and then Cy Young, Spencer Strider, and DeGrom, assuming he can stay healthy, but when does that actually happen?
Yeah, and I definitely wanted to add one more quick thing before we leave, because I definitely think that I don't think there will be another no-hitter in this MLB time because of how fast everything's going. So that's another bold prediction. But that will do it for us here tonight. Thank you for watching, and tune in next time to hear more hot takes all around the world of sports. This has been Please Excuse Our Momentary Interruption of Sports from your regular daily schedule on UWW TV.